Welcome to the Timeless Women podcast series. This five-part series is inspired by the work of Neocon June, a pioneering African woman who has a vision for the women of Africa to innovate, drive social and economic change, as well as impact the ecosystem of equality in Africa and the world. I'm Timothy Maurice Webster, a behavioral psychology author of five best-selling books about human behavior, and what a privilege it is to host this first series. In our first episode entitled A Timeless Woman of Purpose, we have the founder of Timeless Women of Wonder herself, Miss Neocon. She's CEO of Timeless Dynamic Services, Ltd. She's also the chair of Global Innovation Society of Kenya. We're thrilled to have you as the first guest of this series. Miss Neocon, welcome to Timeless Women.
Thank you so much, Timothy. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
I have to tell you, I'm really inspired by your work, your bold vision, and your ability to rally such a diverse group of women from across Africa. I was introduced to your work via a colleague of mine in East London, and I know that she does not partner with anyone unless they have the courage, conviction, and full of faith. So, are you
Mhm.
ready to dive in?
Absolutely.
So I discovered in researching you that you have a before and after near death experience that has produced so much value in your life. I'd like to start there. Tell us a little bit about who you were before this near death experience and what happened after this experience.
My goodness, that's such a powerful way to start this podcast, Timothy, because there's significant difference to who I was before my near-death experience and who I am after that. Before the near-death experience, as many young, upcoming professionals, I was chasing the corporate ladder. I was chasing success. I was chasing money. I was traveling. I was looking for revenues, productivity, and things like that. Those are the things that mattered then. I was really very focused on predicting my future, projecting my future, trying to tie up goals for my future, looking at where I was going to be when I was 30, when I was going to be 35, 40, 55, what investments I would have made, where I was going to retire, what kind of children I would have had, when I was going to get married. Everything was focused and being planned, and looking at how I was going to work hard to be able to be promoted into higher levels in the career ladder, and setting targets for myself. But when I had my near death experience in 2004, when we were having our second child, I was pregnant with my second child, and I was unfortunate to have a medical condition that was potentially terminal. I say potentially because I'm alive today, and I had a maximum of between 3 and 5 months to live, because when I was diagnosed with a condition, I was about 3.5 to 4 months pregnant, and I had, by that time, to a maximum of 5 months after that, to be alive, because the condition
Wow.
dictated that the day that I give back to our child would be the last day of my life, because it was a medical condition where the placenta was not correctly positioned, and it was going to be medically, scientifically, and biologically not easy to get the placenta out of my body. So who did I become after that near-death experience? During that time was a time of deep reflection of my life to that point, really looking back to what I had done, achieved, and what my legacy would be. I came face to face with the movie of my life, questioning what has it meant this far, not just to myself. And for the first time, I was looking at what it meant to others. And Timothy, it was a really hard time. A lot of
Yeah.
people would be in denial and feeling like they're ostriches. You'd rather bury your head under the sand and just imagine that your life meant something. And at that time, I felt that my life did mean something. But the two things that were glaring at me at that time very loudly was impact, people. And the impact was towards Africa. Africa, people. What did you do for Africa, my continent, and for people? What could be remembered of you as far as Africa was concerned, and people? And you can't lie to yourself when you're in the face of death. And you can lie to people, you can't lie to yourself. And I didn't have the answers that were confident enough to say this is what my life to this point has meant to the continent and to the people of the continent. And I think that was specifically speaking to my purpose. We all have different reasons for being alive, different reasons for our purposes. And I think those two glaring questions that were playing at me and were really looking back, at me in the face, was speaking to my assignment and on earth. And it was so clear at that point that while I thought I had impacted people because I was working with organizations and there are people in organizations, it was clear that for it to be glaringly so and so bold with such a large dent in that without an answer, it then meant that that was not enough. That answer of I was impacting people in the organization that worked in was not enough. And the fact that Africa was glaring, and continuously glaring, was meaning that I wasn't either deliberately, engaging with the continent, even through the organizations I was working with, and it also meant that I was not even aware enough about what my life needed to be doing for the continent of Africa. So for two reasons, it was clear I had missed it. And I began to negotiate with my maker on 2 points. I said, look, if these two things are glaring at me this loudly, and I cannot be able to honestly answer this, it only means two things. It means that to this point in my life, I have missed it. I didn't have a clear understanding and revelation of what my life should have been to and for the African continent. And also, what I need to be doing with people and impacting people on the African continent. And the second reason, it means that if I don't even have that awareness, which means I've not been fulfilling it and executing it, it means that I'm a failed project for you. It means that you also have missed
Mm,
out on me. Okay.
yeah.
So for those two reasons, I'm negotiating for you to give me a second chance in life. And I do
Wow.
promise that when I have that second chance in life, that I will be able to live it deliberately, that I will find out what I need to be doing for Africa and for people, and I will do it for the rest of my life. So that if I need to, God forbid, have any other experience like that, it's okay. If I do leave and go, then I can answer what I did for Africa and what I did for people and how my life has been impacting people on the continent and beyond.
We
So who
know
I
that.
was before, who I was before was a career, professional chasing money, title, material things, and who I am after the near-death experience is a purposeful person who's very focused on impact and transformation.
The thing I love about your work and you as a visionary is that we all know you cannot give love until you love yourself. You can't inspire people to galvanize their own purpose until you know your purpose. And you can't find wonder in other people until you see the wonder in yourself. And I think that the thing that energizes me about you is that you see wonder both in yourself and on the continent. And that brings me to the timeless women of wonder. What do you think the world needs to know about the wonder and the beauty of African women?
Wow, that's such a potent question, and what a pleasure it is to try and answer that. I think first of all, before even look, we even before we look at the wonder of the women of Africa, I think we need to look at the wonder of Africa. Africa is such a wonder. It has such great cultural diversity. It has such great talent and intellect. It is blessed with wildlife, topography, natural resources, minerals, rainfall, good weather, lots of good things that are going on in the continent, and quite a vibrant set of warm-hearted people, a lot of knowledge on the continent, knowledge of of things past, things present, things to come, really tacit knowledge. We understand plants, we understand, food, we understand, so lots of things on the continent that's very unique to Africa. Africa is really a continent that actually is rich in minerals and a lot of potential to not just create wealth, but actually to create prosperity across the board. Now, speaking about the women of Africa, my goodness, I have never met a more confident, resilient group of people, people who carry themselves with such dignity and such pride, who have a great potential. Women of Africa are really a key contributor towards our economic, growth as a continent. You find women playing across every sector. Over 80% of Africa's agriculturalists, our farmers are women. Women are playing very instrumental roles in all sectors, health. Did you even know, Timothy, that a lot of our miners are women? They are
Wow.
mining gold, yeah, mining gold. I think very subliminally and unknown to themselves, they don't compartmentalize work. They do what it takes to make things happen. So if it means that women need to go to the mines to mine gold to be able to harness that resource, but create income and livelihoods for their families, they will. Women of Africa are actually the bedrock and the pillar of our African economy and our African success. And they are, I'm sure this is true. What I'm saying, women from other parts of the world will be saying, I identify with that. But this is so true of the African woman. And you know what I love about the African woman? She's always full of joy. When you look at her face, she's full of joy. It doesn't speak of some of the hardships that African women go through, because they do go through a lot of hardship. You find that a lot of African women still have to walk kilometers to get water. They still have
Mm,
to go far to get firewood. But even that is done as a social chore. They will do
mm,
what needs to be done in the homesteads, and they will go in groups, and they will be talking, and they will be laughing, and they will be sharing ideas and solving problems, by the riverside as they get water and they come back. They're problem solvers. They're very wise, even within the structures and setup of the African society, because Africa is primarily patriarchal and cultural. You find that because of what African women are, they're very wise and experienced. They are sought out for this, in decision making across all spheres. There's still a lot of work to be done in our modern day inclusive decision making. But when I look at the matter of Africa, back to our social structures, the role of the African woman was very pertinent to what's going on in the village. So I think an African woman, in three strong words, is a strong, resilient, wise. Those are the three words I'll
wow.
actually describe an African woman.
Years ago, I read a book called The Geography of Thought, and how a particular region of the world influences how the brain develops. And what I love about what you're saying is that, if you look at the history, the social political history, if you look at the beauty of the land, if you look at everything about this continent, it has shaped Africa. Yes, women around the world are special, but I came to Africa myself because of an amazing African woman. And my journey and how we got to this conversation now is because I saw the wonder in an African woman.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
want to shift a little bit. We're going to talk about the conference. You got this really exciting conference coming up where people will be able to either attend in person or log on online and engage. Whether you're in person and you get to meet the hearts and souls and touch someone, or whether you are logging on purpose, they will get a chance to engage you. And we've come up with this concept
Mhm.
called the Neocon Effect. These are 3 life lessons for becoming a timeless woman of wonder. Let's try to do this really quick. 3 lessons to be able to discover the wonder in you as a woman. Go.
Yeah, I think that for me, if you're looking at a specific Nyakan effect, I'm an incurable optimistic. I
Mm,
always have to find a solution, a way out. I have very little threshold for complaints and negativity. I always will look at the silver lining on every cloud. And people sometimes who engage with me are almost frustrated to the point that they say, do you never see problems? Can't you ever see when things are bad? And I say, I can't dwell much on that. What's the problem? And what's the solution? And I'm always encouraging people in the light of darkness, in light of pain, in light of everything. And I think that the Nyakan effect, and I think this flows down to the timeless, movement and the network, is that we are optimistic. There's always a better
okay.
day. There's always hope. One.
Awesome.
Two, it's purpose.
Mm,
it's being deliberate about being purposeful is something that I embody, and it's something that the Timeless Network embodies. And it's actually one of the things that we say definitely would be an effect. Being purposeful, being very deliberate in everything that we do. And the third is impact and transformation. I know those are two words, but they mean sort of the same thing. But transformation or impact, you can interplay those words. That one is consistent. Wherever it is, whether it's in a family setting, whether it's in a work setting, whatever kind of setting it is, there has to be impact, there has to be transformation.
Well, that's what drew me to this conversation was the optimism, the purposeful and transformational mindset that you and the team have. I found myself in a group where we ended up on a meeting and I felt it immediately. And immediately I was like, okay, what can I do to align? Because whenever people have these type of values, optimism, purposefulness, and transformative mindsets, if you can align them, you can create some wonderful, impactful things. Let's talk about this conference coming up, the Timeless Women of Wonder. This conference is is energized to a point where the people who attend and engage will have their life transformed. Tell us a little bit about the conference and what people can expect.
Wow, this is going to be the seventh annual Global Timeless Conference. And the conference is a platform for dialogue, okay? Platform for dialogue and action, because it embodies that kind of results that we're looking for, okay? We're looking at a way that we will be able to convene, leaders from all over the world, men and women who are transformation agents for Africa's, economic and social prosperity. We're looking at a platform that will convene like-minded people who are passionate about being part of Africa's transformative story, and yet are willing to put their words into action by committing to provide, whatever resource, technical resource, their time, themselves, being part of a movement of change for Africa. So every year, year after year, every single February, we actually convene the Timeless Conference every February. And what we are geared to do around a thematic area is to engage in ideas and dialogue and initiatives that will actually drive and outcomes that become the programs and initiatives that Africa needs to transform. So it's going to be very exciting. Our seventh annual conference happening this February 2021 from the 19th to the 20th will be themed around enhancing resilience and creating wealth. This is a topic and a theme that I think is critical the world over. Now more than ever, we need to test our resilience. We had a global pandemic that has challenged, us economically, socially, politically, and even individually. People have been challenged to look at how resilient they are. And we're going to be looking at how, as individuals, as institutions, as governments, how are we positioning ourselves as far as resilience is concerned. And the matter of Africa's wealth creation and problem solving is very critical for us to be able to move into impact and prosperity that is generational for the continent. So we'll be spending 2 days connecting, networking, dialoguing with each other, and sharing ideas that will drive outcomes around education, around innovation and enterprise, around youth, and around leadership. We'll also be looking at the matters of health and some of the things that plague women, not just, but primarily women, things like gender-based violence. I know that's a matter that cannot be segregated to one gender, but things that are very critical to the overall well-being of our citizenship, so that they can be contributing positively towards our economic transformation. So it's going to be a very exciting time. We've also set aside time for us to be able to trade, to buy and sell, to learn what different people in different parts of the world are doing, different products and services. So we'll be expanding our product portfolio and in our markets, right? If you're just a seller in the US, you can sell to Africa now. If you're a seller in Europe, you can sell to other parts of the world. You sell in Africa, you can expand to not just other African countries, but beyond Africa. So just that energy to be able to buy and sell, to trade, to network, and to build profitable partnerships that move forward with us.
I love the idea of creating wealth because, as you point out, wealth is both internal health, mindset, as well as physical, tangible wealth that you can build for building your legacy. I look forward to contributing around the neuroscience and the behavioral psychology of resilience. What happens in the mind of a woman, and how can we understand and galvanize this? So I look forward to contributing. I also am excited about contributing to this podcast series, and we've got some really exciting guests coming up. And our goal here at this podcast is not just to have content just for content's sake. As you mentioned, we are driving value, we are creating conversations that create a platform for you to stand on, to be stronger, bolder, more resilient, and ultimately be able to create more wealth for yourself. So, this is the first episode of this 5-part series. Anyone can go to www.twowafrica.com, get all the information for the conference. When they go there to this site, can they subscribe? Can they engage you? Are they able to contact you?
That's just awesome. Timothy, we've got two websites because we're not just hosting a conference, but we also have a movement, an organization that's driving, change in the continent. So for those of us who want to be part of this movement of change, which is not just limited to the 2 days of the conference, you can go to www.twowafrica.com, twowafrica.com, and you can actually subscribe to the contact us button. You can be able to have your details. You can say want to become part of the movement. You can actually go on to that, and to subscribe to the conference where you'll be able to register immediately, you go to www.timelessconference.com,
Timelessconference.com.
www.timelessconference.com. Yes.
You know what? I want to say that I know this is going to sound a little bit crazy, but I'm kind of grateful for your near death experience. I'm grateful that you bounced back, you came out more resilient and radiating like you are. And I'm always inspired by the idea that circumstances and challenges and moments that burn you. It's like that Moses in the burning bush. Moses, the bush wasn't consumed, even though oftentimes we think we're being consumed in the middle of the fire. I'm glad you're not consumed and you came out radiating even more. I want everybody to share this podcast, share this conversation with at least 3 people that you love and care about. And I want to say finally to all the men, become an ally of this movement. We, the women's equality movement in the 1700s in France was started by a man and a woman. I feel like we need to join hands, men and women,
Absolutely.
and join this journey of finding and discovering the wonder in every woman. Thank you so much for joining us.